Greetings and welcome to Channel Other Doc. I am Jim, your friendly Lacuna GM. Hey, look, I'm a Lacuna again. I use he/him pronouns, and this is our Invisible Sun campaign, The Edge of Paradox. Age of Paradox? I can't talk today. Invisible Sun is a surreal slice of life game by Monte Cook Games. We are integrating the directed campaign, but most of this game happens spontaneously. I have no idea what is going to happen at any given moment. It's delightful. But let's go ahead and go around and say hi to our Vizsla today. And starting with Djinnaya. Hello.
Hello. My name is Djinnaya, and I use she/her pronouns. I will be playing Shah Gamelan, an established gallant of the Order of Makers who cages adversaries. Shah also uses she/her pronouns. That's it.
And now over to Wilde. Hello.
Yes, hello. I'm Wilde Engineer, and I am playing Shantano. They are a... I don't know where to go. They are an itinerant empath of the apostate who splinters into fragments. They use they, them pronouns.
Excellent. And now over to Arras. Hello.
Hello, I am Arras. I use she/her pronouns. And today I am playing Oroshka Ruzik, aromatic empath apostate who converses with everything, who also uses she/her pronouns.
And finally, today, Anino. Hello.
How's it going? My name is Anino. I play Mac the Husk, itinerant enthusiastic of the Order of the Goetica, who provides a vessel for the spirits.
Okay. And once again, as a reminder, like we do with most games on this channel, we're going to be using the X card, the N card, and the O card. If we hit something that's crossing a line for one of us, any of us can type an X in the Zoom video chat or anywhere else, or make an X symbol, and we'll back up and do something else. If something happens that we're okay having in the game, but we don't want a graphic description of it, we can type an N in the Zoom chat and we'll fade to black on it or put it behind a veil. So it'll be there, but we won't go into detail. Finally, if we're exploring a topic or an area of roleplay that's particularly intense for us, but we want to keep going anyway, we can put an O in the chat to let us know that we're doing okay and that we're all good to keep piling on the drama. Something else we can do is put an O with a question mark after it when we're moving into a difficult topic, or if we say or we do something and then think maybe that might have been a little too much. Then everyone else can respond to that again with an X, an N, or an O, and let us know if we're still doing okay. Now, last time, there was we had a slightly shorter session, and it was, I think, largely information gathering going on. They had a chat once again for breakfast in Shah's mine. And then they decided to go and talk to the Shah's friend and the angel who hangs out in the symphonic garden. They were there. They were there with someone else who the party didn't quite get to see them from the front who it was they were with. But because they sort of faded away as they approached. But they were able to talk to the angel. And there were a few questions to be had. Some of which actually I think they were going to have follow-ups on later. That might happen. But I think mostly they were trying to inquire about the Church of Midnight and its leader Infalosa. And the angel chief, as they're called, wasn't actually able to. That they realized there was this, using their normal divination methods. There was a block in place that the Church of Midnight had put that kind of prevents people from being able to figure out what they're doing. It's a strange sort of ponderous type of magic that they have laid. So they couldn't figure out anything about them directly, but could kind of point in certain directions. They're trying to figure out, who took the foreman. They think it was the Church of Midnight. Sort of looking it up and down, it was like, okay, well, this is pointing in a few different directions. Like you were over at the train station. There's a thing there. There's a thing over at this night circus that perches on the west end of town, where sometimes a lot of the tourists, the rumor is the tourists go there, and some of them don't make it out. That's basically all the information they had that they could dispense at that point. There was something. Also there was Vor, who was there, got a kind of a disturbing message from her mentor, Lady Volt, and sort of was describing that Volt had talked to Her Elegance, and apparently something changed during the conversation, and at that point all Her Elegance was willing to mention about what was wrong was that I believe that the Unwritten have been released and that the capstone is off. Whatever those things mean. And so at this point, that's basically all they were able to determine. The angel did mention that there is a sort of a tide that has risen up. They were kind of speaking of it metaphorically. Sort of a tide of, what would I call it? A tide of despair? Something like that. That has risen up recently. Also, one other thing happened, by the way. That was on the way to the angel. There was a key fall. So anyone who took the time, anyone who was in the area, in the neighborhood, didn't have to be right there in that specific spot, but anyone who was in the neighborhood was able to pick up a wicked key from that. I will say, Eroshka, you were in a position to get one if you would like to have taken 10 minutes to go fishing through a bunch of keys falling out of the sky. Then you too will have a wicked key from that. Just as a reminder, since now each of you has at least one wicked key, and most of you more than one, you may wish to think about using it at some point, as it is a thing that lets you bypass anything. Essentially. I was amazed when they didn't end up being used at the Immutable Cliffs, and then after that, things got kind of. I had forgotten about them myself by the time the Seeker ended up happening.
I didn't even know he had one for either of those two sessions.
It was at the very beginning. It was at during the first session. Was when they were getting handed out, and you would award them to each other during that process. So it was, yeah, it was a long time.
The hard
ago.
way around.
But anyway, yeah, you've got wicked keys. So I guess the next question that I have then is where do you go from here, and what is the and I presume that at some point I presume that Vor is now once again has stuff to do and has gone off. And Eroshka will turn up again, but just sort of curious what folks are doing. I'm trying to remember what was happening with Eroshka when last we spoke. Oh yes, Limerence Street. That was you're up there talking to Darren and those folks. So what do we want to do?
Well, your background tells me that we should probably go to the night circus.
I mean, I'm just sort of picked that out as a guess. My background doesn't have to have anything to do with what anyone wants to do.
Does anyone else want to go to the night circus and see if we can find the foreman and more stuff on the Church of Midnight?
Yes, let's
I'm
do
not
so.
there, but yes.
Well, I think we would have to go drop stuff off at the mine if for no other reason than the fact that Mac has pockets full of keys for me.
That's right.
That is true. There's a massive number of keys.
And
in-
I feel like we should get dressed up to go to the night circus. Is that silly?
No.
I mean, it's a circus.
I'm getting dressed up. I mean, wait, do I have clothes?
Have you been walking around naked this whole time?
No, I mean more clothes than what I have. With
Oh.
me.
I mean, probably.
guess
I
I'll
think it
find
would
out.
be completely reasonable for you to have a change of clothes, but I mean, it's up to you, really.
I mean, technically, I don't even have a real home.
I always sort of imagine that your clothes change the same way you do.
Yeah. Yeah, when you shatter and come back together, do you end up in a different outfit?
Ooh, that would be awesome. Yeah, let's say that.
That sounds perfectly reasonable to me. So,
Well,
mhm.
yeah. Well, if Shaw's going to get dressed up, then I suppose Mac should too.
Yeah, I think she'd be like, I mean, if you're not up to dressing up, I understand. We've lost our lacuna.
Nope, still here. I had to keep from melting, so I've turned on the AC. It just had to vanish for a second. I'm back. So you're heading to Shaw's mine. Okay, Arushka, what have you been doing? What have you been doing?
Well, I feel like because we all kind of went our separate ways, right? And then we were like decided to meet for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe I just like went home to my one that's still standing and like went to sleep and just overslept, and I missed breakfast at that point. So I was like, whatever. Then I was like, well, I'll find them later. So I did being sad things.
Oh no!
And I went to find them.
Oh my god. Being sad things. Oh dear. It's not
Very
good.
important.
Since this is kind of a continuation, then I'm gonna go ahead and fill up the Path of Suns up to, I think we had 5 cards in place, 4 or 5 cards in place last time. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those in place. I'll put 4 of them in place, and then the next one will be significant in some way. Yeah, so I think it's perfectly reasonable to assume then that in the interest of catching up with them, that you kind of sort of would it be reasonable to assume you would sort of wander by the mine?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're there. I think they're going to find you by the mine, and this cat has been talking to you. And let's see. Right now it's daytime, so it is. I think it is blue in color. What have you been talking about with this? This cat seems kind of capricious and seems to know a lot about magic. Those are like the main things this cat seems to seems to talk about.
Knows a lot about magic. Maybe I'm like having a philosophical discussion about the nature of spells. Because as an apostate, who used to be advanced, I have very specific opinions on this subject.
That's fair. The cat also does, but is also approaching it from a kind of it's almost like a hobbyist's view of it, because she's not really into. She's not a trained Vizsla, but she seems she just has picked up a lot somehow, and so. I think that there is sort of so I think that when you're sort of approaching, you're kind of hearing them sort of talk about you're hearing a conversation about whether or not magic is actually there after you cast it. Like if it becomes something else or not. Are you in favor or against the idea of it magic becoming something else and remaining after it is cast?
I think I would be in favor. I do agree with that. I think so.
I think in that case, Blue is probably probably thinks that it's but so you folks are hearing this as you're kind of coming up to the mind. I think the question really has a lot to do with the transformation though. Because I don't know if you can even really call it magic once its effects are in the world. It's like, I mean, once you summon like 30 fish, just as an example, just as a sort of an example, we wouldn't know unless we tried to do it. But if you were to summon 30 fish, then I think that would then just become fish, and therefore would be up for grabs. And is not necessarily going to have ill effects afterwards because it's just because the source of the fish was magic doesn't mean that the fish are still necessarily magic. They've like turned into something else. Oh, hi.
Is this Blue?
Yes.
Shall I look up? Oh, hello, Blue. Can I give you scritches again?
Oh, please.
She'll give him her scritches in the same place.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm just going to rub my side against your boot for just a moment.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, good. That's good. Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Anytime.
And sort of resumes sort of sitting down and is like, I have completely forgotten what we were just talking about.
We'll have this discussion some other time because I was looking for them actually. So
okay.
We might have things to go do. But I'll see you next time.
Okay.
I like hold my hand out to shake the cat's paw.
The cat's tries to do like a high five thing for a couple of times and fails, and then like leaps up on its hind legs and like eventually takes your hand kind of almost like in that sort of that fashion that people who are being slightly overly enthusiastic because they don't know how else to be. How else to do it? They can thank you. It was a great pleasure. And I look forward to the fish experimentation that may be happening in the near future. Just as an idea.
Yes, we'll try it sometime.
I cannot wait. She just sort of starts wandering around in a circle.
We were going to go to the night circus.
Oh.
They have absolutely no fish. Why would you go there?
Have you been, Blue?
I've been kind of over there a little bit. They're very strange.
Oh. Well,
Which, I mean,
Saturnine strange, or
well, they have kind of this thing where... Hold on, I'm getting this feeling as though someone is flipping a card over. Hang on. Let me see. Oh dear. Okay. Dee. I'm now going to reveal the card that I've just flipped over. And that card is the Doctor. The nemesis of visions. As a reminder, the Doctor's meanings are wisdom, health, dependence upon others, and disease. Doctors help, but it's a help we'd rather not need. No one wants to see a doctor. We only see them if something's gone frighteningly wrong. They have knowledge, perhaps secret knowledge, and an insight few can match. But these are secrets about disease and death. Can one delve so deeply into such topics and not come out affected? The Doctor is the nemesis of the Visions family. This enigmatic, genderless figure is a harbinger of illness and plague, but the possibility of succor or even remedy from the disease they foretell. There is an inherent contradiction to the Doctor, then. They are the hero that we really do not want. Okay. So... yes. It's a little strange in that, well, yes, it's sort of over in that sort of direction, she says, waving a paw. Once you get there, you don't so much arrive at that circus as you catch it.
Like you catch a fish?
Kind of, yes. Or a cold.
Oh.
Or poetry. That sort of thing.
Shaw looks at Shantano. Can you catch poetry?
I mean, isn't that what writing is?
I don't know. You live with poetry. I thought maybe you'd know.
That's very deep.
You can definitely catch the emotion put into it. Contain it.
So she looks at Blue again. So do you have any advice on how to safely catch a circus?
Oh, it's interesting because it's like a perceptive thing when you go in there. It's sort of where and how it is kind of based on what you're looking at, and there were no fish to look at, so that was a problem. Sorry, I'm not sure why I keep talking about fish today.
Are you hungry?
I might be. Maybe a little. But I think that it's essentially it's tricky. There might be a way to unravel it, possibly. But it's really more a question of kind of where you start, and kind of making where you end up into what you want that to be. I think that's probably the best way to describe it, and I just didn't want to deal with that because it was very clear that it was going to be way too much work.
I think Shaw kind of gives a side eye to everybody else to see if anyone else understood what the heck that meant. And then she'll be like, "Oh, of course, that makes perfect sense."
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's just how these things go.
Aroshka, we were gonna get dressed up. Do you want to come inside?
Oh, sure. I didn't bring any other clothes, though.
Oh, I have things.
Whoa.
And I think that if I can just, as an aside, I'm gonna bring back out Blue once everybody gets settled inside another piece of salmon like I'd given her before, but I'm gonna have it inside of like a metal puzzle box that I've made.
Oh
Because
my
last
god!
Make her work for it?
Blue was really upset that the fish was too easy. so
That's true.
So Shaw will come back and be like, okay, I wasn't able to make a challenging koi pond one of these days, but here, inside of this is a fish.
Oh.
Or is the eating part of fish, but it's kind of like hunting it, but more elaborate. Good luck.
Oh my goodness! I wonder. And as you're sort of heading back into the mine, you're sort of you kind of hear behind you. I wonder if it's alive or dead. And
Schrodinger's fish.
It's a very philosophical cat.
kind of, yeah. So you head inside. You head inside. And what would you like to do?
I think we could just get ready montage. Unless anyone else has anything they want to do. Mac probably wants to take the keys out of their pockets.
So Mac is actually sitting on the couch, and he's constantly reaching into like hundreds of pockets and pulling out handfuls of keys and trying to stack them in arrange them in piles according to size. And he looks incredibly bored at all of this. But he's doing it anyway because he considers this like a part of it, kind of making it up to Shaw and paying rent in some fashion.
I think Shaw will come over and she'll look at all the piles and she'll be really serious for a second, and then she'll just turn into a 6-year-old immediately, and she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this one's so shiny, and this one's got gems. This one's got You're doing a wonderful job sorting, but I think they could just all go together because I don't know what I'm gonna make with them, but it's gonna be so good."
I feel a terrible urge to draw a card as you're looking at the keys. Just, because I feel as though there's a pattern.
So, when Shaw mentions that he can just pull them all together in a pile, he says, "Oh, that's great." And he's going to pull out the trunk that the house keeps stuffing him in every time he falls asleep. And he's just going to dump all the keys in there and hope that doing this will prevent the house from just stuffing him into it.
So, I've drawn the Messiah, who is the defender of visions. Yeah, I think that for just a moment, as you're looking it over, you see the keys kind of fall into this pattern. That, let's see, how do I describe this in terms of keys? So, yes, okay. So you have what looks like a very simple sort of out of shadow house key that seems to fall across this key, this sort of old rusty key that looks that looks kind of nostalgic to you, Shah.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're sort of looking, you realize they've fallen into this pattern that's kind of like with the other keys. Those at the center are forming a kind of a thing that looks like the skull and crossbones. Except the skull seems to have like a haircut that's very specific. It's very almost, or the skull seems to have hair. Basically, it sort of comes down to like here and is very 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 sharp. Based on the pattern of the keys, it's a little weird.
Oh. I think she'll stop acting like a 6-year-old and look at them and
this is just before Mac like grabs these up and is starting to stuff them into the trunk.
I think that she'll look away and pull out her viewfinder and create an impression of what she just saw inside the viewfinder so that it's recorded.
Yeah, you're still enough of it. You can like, yeah.
Well, because it just
that's right.
the viewfinder does
yeah.
pictures from her mind.
Yeah,
so
yeah. It's still there, so you can.
And then quickly kind of shove it away, like. Yeah. Not a fan of bad omens.
Anyway, sorry. That's yeah. So the getting ready montage, I think, is going to happen, and so what do we see? What is everyone dressing up as? Dare I ask?
So Shah will bring out for everyone like boxes of weird jewelry and stuff from her workbench. So there's like all kinds of cool bracers and anything that can be made out of metal. Think a little bit like iron-based Bronze Age kind of stuff. And geometric weird stuff. Nothing with any magical power, but just like lots of cool stuff. And then if Aroshka wants, she'll open her closet, which is just going to be mostly like weird worn military stuff, and then a bunch of metal stuff that's too custom. That's not going to fit her.
I feel like Aroshka's gonna, she's feeling a little bit like her old self, rather reluctantly. She's definitely going to be attracted by like nicely cut military uniforms. She's going to pick the shiniest one she can find.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's probably, I'm just gonna say and hope Jim lets me do it, but I think there's probably like a really cool kind of epauletted,
oh yeah,
captain's coat kind of thing.
There has to be.
Would there be anything like a robe but dressy?
A robe but dressy? Like a wizard robe or like a bathrobe?
Like a hooded robe?
Like a hooded robe? There's probably like a hood and a loose jacket thing that you could match together.
Yeah, Shantana would definitely do something like that. And see if there's any accessories that look similar to a scythe.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some metal stuff that you could quickly work together and be like, could you put this thing on this thing? And Shaw will be like, oh yeah, that takes just a second, without really thinking about the fact that she's dressing you like death.
I mean, if I'm going to meet my friend, there's a possibility.
Yeah, and I think Shaw's gonna put on like a sort of ruffled, like almost like a polonaise kind of thing with her metal pieces strapped over the top of them, and like extra high, big clompy metal boots. And then she'll secure her stuff on her mask over her face and weave like some metal bits into her hair.
So you're mostly just adding a couple of little just metal accoutrements?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and another like layer of fluff.
Metal weave and layer of fluff. Okay, good. Yeah.
I'm glad you're taking notes on our montage.
Oh yes. What's Mac doing?
So, Mac is dressed a little more conventionally. He's wearing a pair of dark gray dress slacks and a purple paisley dinner jacket. And he also casts plentiful pockets. So he's people will see him slipping throwing knives into a number of different places, as well as a full-on sword into his breast pocket, as well as scream mistake in another one, and a sandwich into another pocket, as well as a bottle of what Saturine's equivalent of Gatorade.
Good. Excellent. Okay. All right.
He will also summon his familiar, Sagan.
Okay. Yeah. Sagan will just sort of flap in from nowhere, seemingly, and sit on your shoulder.
At what level he needs to be in order to materialize full time? I'll go look that up.
Yeah, it's probably not too far from him, if I'm remembering right. He's like right now. He's like, is this Paisley?
Yes, it's Paisley.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
I mean, I would have picked something, with a more solid color, but I thought you might blend in a little bit too much, and then it just look
Right.
shapen.
Well, I get that. It was one of those weird things where I almost misjudged when I came down to your shoulder. I wasn't sure if I was hitting it. But I've got it. I can see now where this whirl in particular is here at the seam, and that I can use that to figure the rest of it out.
Well, I'm glad for that. We're going to the night circus, by the way.
Wait, what?
The night circus. We're going to the night circus.
Is that a good idea?
I will have you know, kind familiar, that this group of Vizsla is quite well known for making sound and calculated decisions.
Okay, I mean, if you say so, I'm sure you've prepared adequately and all that for all that. But I just thought I'd check, because they set that up as like a tourist trap type deal, and I just looking out for you,
Oh, of course, but well, so I summoned you for a little extra assistance.
Gotcha. Sure thing, boss.
He hasn't really materialized yet, but Mac has just been talking aloud to Sagan. So if anybody was watching, they would probably be very confused because I don't think he's actually introduced his familiar to everybody. So,
I mean, as a vessel for spirits, don't you just talk to yourself every so often?
kind of, but
I mean, Aroshka doesn't think there's anything weird about that. She's like, seems legit.
I mean, it would be a little bit on the hypocritical side if she were to call it.
Awesome.
So do we feel ready to go then, friends?
Yes, more than ready.
Straight in the jacket.
Did anybody want to meet my friend or see if they're around when we get there?
The embodiment of murder? Not really?
I met him then, I guess. I met them already once.
Yeah, I mean, we've already been to the Menagerie of Deaths once before. Can't be that bad, right?
Wait, is the Menagerie of Death in the night circus? I thought it was at the World's Fair.
Oh. Oh well.
But I mean, I guess murder gets around.
That does seem to imply that the embodiment of murder might just be wandering around the circus, which I suppose could explain all the people disappearing.
All right.
You're not supposed to sound excited about that.
I just look at the table that no longer has the keys on it with like a very, very, very seriously concerned face.
Well, I mean, if necessary, I can always find a way to bring them there and ask them if they're the ones responsible for the disappearances.
Why don't we just go ask around and have some popcorn and I don't know. Maybe we don't have to bring murder into it as a preemptive move.
I mean,
I don't want you to stop talking to your friends. Friends are important.
yeah, it's just been so long since I've seen them.
So funnel cake. Yeah.
Yeah, I like funnel cakes. Let's go.
I love funnel cake.
So, with the promise of funnel cake, helping them charge their steps, they head out. It is mid-morning, toward the west side of town. You head out, your motley band, over past the Church of Stasis, and through the various squares, past the theater, to the west, through the little artist square in that area, west past the house of the party, until you have come to the field, and then instead of turning to the right, you turn left. As you head toward the tents that are pitched on the south end of that field. And there is similarly an archway that one can enter to be in the right place, as it were, from what you've heard. You can see the tents, but you don't see the people until you pass through the archway. This big sort of candy cane type deal. Colored archway. And upon so doing, the GM turns over another card. This card is the Untrustworthy Mirror. We've seen that recently. As a reminder, its meanings are illusion, false identity, and failure. Okay. This is funny for reasons that I can't even get into. So, the first thing you're going to see is when you step through is that it is night. It was mid-morning. It's mid-morning on the other side of the arch. On this side of the arch, it is night, and you can hear the you can hear carnival music in the background. You can see these tents are lit up. There are lights going from tent to tent. There are people moving back and forth, visiting the carnival. There are there are popcorn machines, by which I mean machines made out of popcorn. There are rather a lot of there are a significant number of people here. It's this is one of those places that sometimes attracts the artists in the area, but mostly tourists. And you see a number of different events. You see there are a lot of balloons around. You see there's like there is a fortune teller. There are games of chance. You see there is a carousel. There is what's over at the archway to the entrance. It says the House of Reflection, not House of Mirrors, but it says House of Reflection. You see there's a band on a stage playing something. There is a hot dog vendor. Once again, this is a hot dog who is vending other things. Selling brochures, it looks like, mostly. And it looks like there are various acts going on in some of the different tents. There's a tent, where the sign out front says animals. There's a tent where the sign out front says magician. And you're just basically this sense of a carnival that you're looking at. You don't actually see, aside from the... You don't actually see any carnival barkers, but you can kind of hear them, depending on what you approach. So this has all of the sorts of things one would normally find in a carnival, and then it also, like I said, has circus tents, and so there is a big top at the center, and a lot of people doing various acts in various places. What would you like to do?
I don't even know where to begin in here.
Does anybody want to go see the magician?
I mean,
I am kind of curious about that. I mean, with all the Vizsla in Tatooine, it seems kind of redundant to have a magician act.
it does. Or maybe it's extraordinary.
Or very ordinary.
Oh. Also possible. Well, what do you think, Areshka?
Oh, well, what's the first thing we wanted to find?
Well, we'd like to find the foreman, or at least I would. But I don't see a tent that says captured makers.
Well, obviously not. But what would be if you were going to capture a maker for yourself and, I don't know, use them or hold them someplace they couldn't get away? What kind of thing might you make them do or hold them in? Maybe we can find some activity that seems like it's in a place where you could keep a maker.
Ooh, a room with infinite supplies that don't fit together.
Yes. Yeah, I would just say you just put them in their workshop. I don't know. I think we should just explore and see where we end up, though. Right? We're here. We can't get stuck because we're not tourists.
And magicians have been known to make people disappear, whether real
That's
or
true.
not.
Maybe that's where the disappearances are happening.
Maybe. See if that's part of the act. And if not, we get to see a magic show.
Hopefully it's like a subversion of the ordinary into the extraordinary. And yet, it's still ordinary.
Here we are. Sound and calculated decisions. To the magician.
Do you have a more sound and calculated decision for us to make, Mac the Husk?
I am being completely sincere, Shaw, and I am very upset now that you would doubt that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'll buy you a popcorn later.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
You're heading
The
toward the
machines would like that.
You're heading toward the magician's tent?
Yes.
Okay. So, I've drawn another card. Because of course I have. So, you're going to step into the magician's tent. The card I've drawn is the Looming Shade. We don't get this one very often, I think. It's mysteries. Its meanings are terror, doom, impending danger, unseen threats. Ghosts and spirits lurk everywhere. Most never interact with mortals. Some shades, however, prey upon mortals, looking to feast upon their fear, their flesh, their very souls. The Looming Shade is almost certainly such a danger. It is terrifying, but it's not just idle fear. The threat is real. The best possible outcome you can hope for is that it's not a horror that appears now, but is yet to come. So perhaps you can prepare for it, but readying for the unseen is always difficult. Even forewarned, how do you expect the unexpected? In divination, danger raises its head when this card is turned. This is a threat that comes from an unseen, unexpected quarter. It is the doom that lurks where one least expects it. Obviously, this card is always a bad omen. It really has no positive meanings. Excellent. Okay. Let's do this. So, you step into the tent, and you're hearing applause, and you're looking around, and there are a bunch of open seats, empty seats, and you don't see any people in here. But you can hear their applause. There is, on stage, on one side of the stage is a clown that it looks like maybe some of you might have seen at the World's Fair. This is the Wrastlin Clown, the really big one. It's just sitting on a stool on one side of the stage, eating a sandwich. And this sort of stage, it's one of those where the way this tent is set up, it's actually set up where you have a stage at the end of the tent, basically, toward the back of the tent. But there is sort of a ring encirclement on the ground. You have a sort of a raked thing that you step up to get into the tent, and as you're stepping down, it's raked seating heading down. And in the center of this, you see under this bright light, you see a figure in a top hat and a tuxedo with a big cape, and it's basically doing this thing where there is where he's passing a hoop up and down. Over one of these boxes, and these different animals are appearing inside the hoop as he lifts it and lowers it. And actually, the more you look, it's hard to see if there's a person there in the suit. It looks like more the suit is doing it of its own volition, almost. The magician's suit. But you keep seeing there's like a panther, and then he raises it again, and then it's a giant crab, and then he raises it again, and it's a groundhog, and then he raises it again, and then it's a giant toad, and then he raises it again, and then it's a groundhog again, and then he raises it again, and it's like the head of a giraffe starts peeking out, and they're like, oh dear, no, I can't have that. And you hear a voice, and sort of coming out, and you hear the audience that's not there kind of laugh. And he lowers it back, and it's the groundhog again. He says, "You keep popping up, don't you?" And the groundhog just sort of shrugs. And he says, Here, go pick out a volunteer, would you? And the groundhog jumps down. Are you making your way in? What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to find a seat.
I was going to say, we're sitting down.
Yeah, I think we would do that.
I'm probably lurking towards the back. I'm afraid we came in the wrong way, and that's why we can't see the people.
And so the three of you that are actually seated, do you all like sit together, or do you just like are you spread out?
Oh no, I was gonna sit with everybody else.
Yeah, I figured we'd sit together.
Okay. So Shantanu and Mac and Arushka are sitting somewhere in the audience. Shaw is kind of more toward the back. And the groundhog just sort of comes into the audience and is looking around and is like and so he keeps moving. And it stops kind of in front of the three of you. Its nose kind of twitching. And sort of swaying back and forth. You hear from the top, looks like he's found someone. You see this again. You can't see the person inside, but you see the glove sort of raise up, as though shielding eyes. Like, who is that over there?
Mac is just going to prop Shantano up. It's like, oh, here it is. It's Shantano. Yeah, Shantano, this is great.
Rude.
And-
Everybody give a hand to Shantano.
At this point, the
Starts
groundhog
laughing.
just sort of looks up at Shantano, kind of as though focusing for the first time. It's like, sort of backs up, and slowly is backing up. And, oh, Death! Excellent! How good to see you. Rarely,
quite.
it's a rare evening you get to actually see you coming. And the audience that's not there titters. Come on down.
Wonder if they actually think I'm deaf. And I'll just follow the groundhog.
Come, folks. Yes, it's very important to follow the groundhog. You hear this applause. Give them a hand, folks. They've come a very long way. And,
Sorry, so Mac is just sitting there relieved that he was able to divert.
The Reaper of Souls. Says, the magician says, rubbing his hands together. Rubbing their hands together. And as you're coming down, you see that he kind of has picked up the hoop again and is sort of spinning it slowly on one end, the other end on the bottom of sort of the bottom end on this little crate, this colorful crate. And as it's doing so, he sort of will say, "Not here to make anyone disappear, are you?" And again, there's more chuckling.
Oh no, no. Heard you don't need me for that around here.
And the audience sort of goes, "Ooh." And says, "Ah, quite." Well, maybe you can, before we do our little trick, maybe you can give us a little bit of an insight, huh? Who's next?
Not sure yet.
Oh, perhaps we can give you a bit of a boost then. Help you figure it out. And as he's sort of spinning this, he says, "Well, you can't exactly make death disappear, can you?" And the audience then sort of chuckles nervously. No, you can't. But here's the thing that you can do. What if I was able to use death to help me bring something back to life? And again, people are like, "Ooh, that's right." And he picks up the hoop. And he moves it through the air. And there, hovering in midair, is a sheet that seems to be covering a person. Something the shape of a person lying down. As though they're like on a table. He says, "Now, he says, this is our subject. Our subject is no longer among the living. And he sort of looks up. Care to wager a guess at who our subject is?
No, I'm not good at bets. I learned that the hard way.
Well, I'm sure nobody bets against you.
Just as an aside,
And-
Mac is just going to whisper to Aroshka, imagine if it was the foreman.
I hadn't considered that possibility until right now. Do you think it is?
It would just be our luck.
Well, that's true. But maybe he really does mean he's gonna bring him back to life. Is that allowed?
I'm fairly sure all rules around the Saturine are pretty flexible.
I mean, true. I guess we'll see.
So, he says, it is entirely up to you to decide, O Death. Once this soul gets moving, whether you want to reap it again, whether you want to reap it or not.
Interesting.
Are you ready to make your choice?
Wait to see who it is first.
Just a little peek then. And he will pass the hoop in front of the this figure. And Shantanu, this figure, as you look at it through the hoop, you can see that it has arms and legs and what have you. You can actually see it lying there. And when he passes when it passes the hoop over it, you see it actually looks like an earlier version of you. And sort of does that also in front of the audience. I think we were talking recently about something where someone had met an earlier version of you, didn't we? There was there was something there was an episode recently where you ran into someone and you had actually looked a little bit different prior. I can't remember. It was a throwaway thing, so it wasn't a major thing. But this is a version of you from, it looks like fairly early on, from just when you'd started learning how to fracture yourself. It's kind of representative in some way, I would say to you, of a road not traveled. So you can actually, if you wish, describe what the audience sees through this hoop. Because the audience can see it as well when he turns it and passes it along the side.
I guess it would look relatively similar to Shantanu, only definitely less cracks. Maybe, like, if anything, you can only see maybe a couple cracks extending out of the sleeves, barely onto the hands. Almost like as if there's nothing, just like almost like tattoos, but nothing out of the ordinary. They haven't exactly shattered their whole body type yet. Definitely look younger. Almost probably like maybe like a little bit of desperation in their eyes for some reason, like they're really looking for something harder than they are now. Definitely more of a newer set of traveler's clothes, the type you would expect people to be wearing. Not anything as ragged as he usually wears currently.
And one thing that's kind of definite is it does look a lot like a corpse. And says, well, folks, are you ready to see this? And again, once he finishes passing the hoop, again, it's just a figure under a shroud. Are you ready to see the dead rise? And the audience that's not there is like, ooh, and applauds. As a little bit, just sort of like, applause. The applause means yes type deal. He's like, all right then. Well then, if you could just come around, he says to Chandano, and hold the other end here. Let's make it happen.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay, so you go around the other side. Basically, you're standing on either side of the body. And he hands you the other end of the hoop. And he says, already on the count of 3, step with me. 3 steps that away, he says, and again pointing across, further down to the other end of the body. 1, 2, 3, and you hear there's a drum coming from nowhere. The clown is actually just sort of now kind of poked something, and as though it just this drumstick just sort of appears in midair next to it, and it's going back and forth as though one half of 2 drumsticks that are doing the drum roll. 1, 2, 3. Do you step with him?
Yes.
Okay. So, when you do this, the sheet lurches up after you step past it. And hops down off of the table. And you can see it. Basically, the sheet falls, and you see it's this thing that looks kind of like it looks like sort of a very, very lifelike version of Shantano. And it's like, but it's very sort of, it's cracking its neck, It's looking around. And it's turning and it's lurching in Chantineau's direction, sort of like a recently reanimated corpse. And as it does so, the magician is kind of backing up. It's like, uh-oh, guess you've got a decision to make, haven't you?
I already made the decision. Does he take out the scythe and attempt to re-shatter the old Chantineau?
Okay. When you do that, and it's remarkably easy. You lash out with your scythe. And when you do that, a couple of things are going to happen. One is there is this sort of flash of light as this thing shatters into a million pieces, as you had intended. But when the light fades, those in the audience can no longer see either Chantineau, either of the two. Now, this is where things get very interesting. Chantineau, you are in what looks kind of like a hospital, surrounded by the dead and the dying. You're now dressed, your clothes look very similar to what you were just wearing, except they look much more convincingly like the Grim Reaper. And you see these doctors with plague doctor masks, coming around, looking at patients who are just lying there. And you see there are nurses there trying to keep people comfortable. Seems like more and more people are getting wheeled in. You hear what sounds like, from a distance, like ordnance of some kind. And you see several of their people, their families praying. You see a great deal of misery and people in pain, especially those who are just on the brink of death, but they just won't die. Any idea as to what you'd like to do?
Does anyone actually notice me there? Or
not really. Are you looking for someone to notice you, or is it more of just checking? You're trying to get anyone's attention, I should say.
No, just seeing if they're all walking around me, or if they're like,
yeah, they seem to be
acting like I'm just not there.
Yeah, they're acting like you're not there. They do seem to be walking around you, but it doesn't look like they're doing so consciously. You get the very real sense that this was near the end of the war.
Does it seem like most of the people in beds are asleep or anything like that?
Some of them are. Some of them are awake and sort of actually crying out in pain because some of them are having, they're all having different problems. Most of them have been, a lot of them have been hit by shrapnel, that kind of deal. But a good number of them are sick.
Mm-hmm.
Some are asleep, some are awake.
I would probably maybe use one of my ephemera at this point. So I have a sleep's window, so I can spy on sleepers' dreams, but I can't affect them.
Ooh. Okay. I have a question about Sleeper's Window. Does it have any particular things for use on it, or dice or anything like that?
It says +1 die.
+1 die. Okay, gotcha. Okay. For you to use this in the way that So when you use this, it's going to have an effect. Whether or not the effect will lead to something kind of more positive or more negative is going to depend on how we do here. So, in order to successfully do this in a productive way, or, well, it's always going to be productive, just depends on for whom and in what direction. I'm going to call this a... given all of the different factors involved in what is going on here, I am actually going to give this a challenge of 7.
Okay. Does it being at level 2 do anything?
That'll knock it. I'll go ahead and say just. Yeah, I assume this is what this is, but for that I'm going to knock it down to a 5.
Can I use my searching to help?
Searching. I
So
think that.
skills.
Yeah, I think that'll come in handy here.
Okay. So that brings it to 4, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I just use use Bene to bring its level up 1, right?
Okay, yeah, you can totally do that. So if you're using it for that, then that will bring it down to 3.
I guess I'll try with that.
All right, and you get 2 dice.
Is it 2 dice or 3 dice?
As far as I'm aware, it's just 2. So you get
2?
the
Okay. So the +1 gives me 1 extra die. Success. 2. And D8, right?
And it's a D10.
D10. Okay.
Yeah, so you get two D10s. Okay.
6 and an 8.
So, successes in both cases and no flux. All right. Yeah. So, this is interesting. This is, so you go over to one of the people sleeping, and you try to see into their dreams. And it seems to, like you're looking down a long corridor that's twisting and turning and trying to get away from you, but you're trying to sort of get it and navigate it. What you are going to find your way... Where was Shantano the last time they felt very much like themselves? In other words, where there was actually no doubt in their mind about themselves, and they were like, "This is good. This is who I am."
Probably when they were helping out the librarian.
Okay. So, you're finding that the dream is about that. And as you're sort of reaching through and grabbing, magically sort of reaching in, totally not doing what this scenario is trying to get you to do. And instead you're being yourself. You realize that that's your way out of here. And you realize that basically this place is trying to turn your brain against itself. And none of the stuff you've been looking at has been real. Now, I guess my question is, do you want to then pursue that to its goal and kind of let yourself out? Because it's either that or just sort of hanging around here with things and it's trying to make you into the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, because if it's not real, that's kind of pointless.
To an extent, yeah, but you actually, I will tell you, you do get kind of, as you are passing through, you actually get a sense of these, that spiraling sense that I was telling you before. It's a thing actually not unlike sort of the, when you're looking at the curriculum. It's not that, but it's, this thing where it's like you just how to navigate these sort of labyrinths of concept to get where you need to go, right? And so you think you've figured out how the recursion works now in this circus. So you've actually got a much better grasp of that. And there's again another little sort of pop, and you're standing in the library. Now, let me go back to everyone else real quick. What you see when that flash of light happens, as I said, is neither of the two Shantanos are on the stage. And the magician says, and there's applause going on from the seats that aren't there, from the people that aren't there. And you say, death, ladies and gentlemen. What an excellent sport. Now who's next?
Where's the groundhog?
Ah! The groundhog is currently over by the clown, and the clown is kind of feeding it one of the meats from its sandwich.
Oh, so it's not back in the audience anymore?
Not yet. No, it's as soon as he says who's next, the groundhog sort of perks up while it's eating. It's like, and sort of lays it down, a piece of the sandwich down. Just sort of turns, looks up, is looking back and forth at the audience.
Well, I feel like my idea of taking the groundhog hostage to ask where Chantenot is kind of on hold. Does anybody else have a move they want to make?
It's gonna start moving toward the audience if no one does anything, but
I'm gonna be like, nothing around here is chatty, but I'm gonna try something, and I'm just gonna see if I can get one of the seats to talk to me.
Okay. So you're concentrating on this seat. It hasn't said anything. Can you describe a little bit of what you do to try to get it to talk to you?
I literally just was planning on talking to. Wait, let me second. One second. Yeah, I'm just gonna talk to it, basically. Just be like, hey, we're friends, and our friend just disappeared, and that groundhog is coming back. Do you know what's going on or where he is? Oh.
All right, so you're doing that, and for a moment, it's like the corners of your vision seem to shift a little bit. It's like there's this weird haze for a second, and the seat then rolls forward and turns.
Oh God.
And brings its arm up to like about where its back is. And it says to you, no, no one spotted, Captain.
Oh, it's
and you are the only, and by the way, no one else notices this happening.
I'm like just going to look at the faces of my friend that's sitting next to me, because you're still sitting next to me, right, Mac?
Yes, he is.
I'm going to look at Mac. I am not sure where Shaw is. She didn't sit with us. I'm going to look at Mac and see if he reacts in any way to an entire chair turning around. I might even kind of be like,
So Mac is actually eyeing the ground because he's actually sharing similar thoughts as to what Shaw was thinking, and he's sort of just wondering, can I snatch this groundhog?
Groundhog's coming up the aisle.
Yeah.
And the chair, in the meantime, says, "But the troops are all ready. If you would like us to begin the next experiment, Captain."
Experiment? Which experiment is that? I like experiments.
And you kind of see that the chairs have now some of them kind of lift up. And you see basically this that sitting across a couple of them is these chairs that have sort of moved away from where they were. That it's a sort of a trying to kind of think what this thing would look like. Yeah. I'll say it looks like a it looks kind of like a gun, except it's got a sort of like a rifle, but it has it looks like a sort of a instead of like ordnance, it looks like it has sort of actually it looks sort of like a cross between a rifle and a crossbow. I'll put it that way. Sort of a wider crossbow, and it looks like it's geared up to launch some kind of net. The weird thing about it is it looks kind of familiar.
Oh?
This looks like a design that you abandoned a while back, but because you didn't have time to make it at the time. It's a kind of it's supposed to snare something like essence of its target, you think? If you remember right?
Uh-huh. I'm going to nod excitedly to the chair and be like, "Good work. I think we should start right away."
Excellent. Bringing it around.
Nobody else still notices that. I'm just having a conversation with my army of chairs. Nobody's noticed.
I mean, they see you standing up. They'll see you standing up and like trying to talk to something. I'm not sure that they can make out what you're saying per se. But yeah, the groundhog is now getting closer as it is coming up the aisle. And this chair hops forward and lifts up its, gets itself up, sort of in a position where it's like it extends its lower self to raise up, so that it is now bringing the weapon up to like basically chest level, so you can to present it to you.
Oh, am I using it? Okay. I guess I'll take it then. And since we're capturing essence, and I want Shantano back, I'm gonna shoot it in the direction of the last place I saw him.
Okay. This'll be interesting. Sure. I'm going to, oh my god. So I'm going to give this a, sorry, I have to do several, I have to leap a couple of things over in my head every time I try to figure this out because of what's happening right now. So this is going to be a challenge of 6.
Okay.
What would you like to throw at it?
Could I use magical lore because I understand how this thing works because I invented it, although I did not make it?
Yes, you certainly may.
Let me see what else I have.
Is it an object of power that she's using?
Now, I can't answer that exactly. That's the problem. It might be.
It might be.
We could treat it as though it is.
It just seems like the weapon should give her something towards her venture.
Oh, I see. Yes,
Yeah.
I understand.
If it's an object of power, then it would take. It would give
take
you
its
however
level.
many points its level was, and add that to her venture.
Yeah, it's hard to. I think, given what's going on, I actually can't. I can't apply that here.
Well, I just literally today bought a new Forte ability called Charm Object, level 5, plus
Yes.
1 die. An object I touch reacts to me well, as a person might react to a friend, and is open to the possibility of conversation. Could I, give a pep talk to the gun?
I think you absolutely must.
You are doing a wonderful job. This can go great. So pleased you exist.
Okay.
Right at this moment.
All right.
Apparently we're made by chairs.
You get kind of a. Okay, it's a level 5, right? It's a level 5
It is a level
ability.
5.
Okay, before I do this, you get. It's kind of like a question
Okay.
in your head. And it's kind of like a little bit, and again, it's not exactly a conversation. This has happened before, where she's kind of asking you,
Oh God.
this one, are you sure?
Sure. No, I'm not sure. Oh God.
I'm fine with it, but you want to go with this design?
Holy shit. Oh. I guess based on what else do I know about this invention of mine before I make this decision?
It does not actually affect the soul directly. What instead is, it ensnares the essence of a being, that the things that it ensnares things that makes them very much like themselves. You know how, there's that branch of philosophy that can say a desk has a certain amount of deskness, a chair has a certain amount of chairness. You know what I'm talking about? It sort of takes that ness. It ensnares that ness. But you get the feeling that you can absolutely make this thing real right this second. If you want to.
But it would cost me, right? Same as before?
She's not asking for anything this time.
Well,
For some
in
reason.
that case, ominous. Yes, I'm sure. I'll hold on to this one. This
All
time?
right. You're the captain.
Oh.
The gun fires. And you get this little thrill as you do it. Because there's a part of you that always wanted to test this thing. And the net flies onto the stage. Just as the magician is turning around, it's like, ah! Snares them.
So, Mac is just going to go wide-eyed and just
this
turn
gun
his
has
head
just appeared in
slowly
Aroshka's hands.
at Aroshka and goes, "What the?" And he spies the groundhog. So you see Mac just pick up a chair and heave it over the head of the groundhog as a feint, and then dive and try to grab it by the scruff of its neck, and then
you've taken that groundhog completely by surprise. I don't think there's.
okay.
I'm not even going to make you roll for that.
Okay. And so in one smooth turn and twist, he's going to throw the groundhog in Shaw's direction, hoping that Shaw will pick up on that and cage it.
The groundhog is arcing through the air.
Oh my god, I can't!
This is something you maybe should have consulted Shaw about first.
I could cage the groundhog, but if I cage the groundhog, I let the time creature out of the cage.
We don't want that.
Choices.
Just catch the groundhog.
Yeah. Oh my
It's
god.
flying through the air
I think that
as if in slow motion.
Jesus. I will tackle the groundhog.
Crying out as it flies toward you. Because it's slow motion. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
I am going to call for a roll for tackling a flying groundhog.
Okay.
Because I feel as though that makes it slightly more challenging.
That's fine.
This will be a challenge of 3.
A challenge of 3.
Yes.
Cool. I mean, is that just to catch the groundhog or to capture and subdue the groundhog?
I feel that this to capture and subdue the groundhog I would be included all in that roll.
That's cool. Okay, then I'm gonna add a point of physicality to that. Actually, no, wait. I'm going to use my expansive endeavor, and I'm going to add 2 points of physicality to that, which brings it down to 1.
Yep.
And then I will roll.
All right. So anything other than 0.
Awesome.
Awesome.
3.
Congratulations.
So I think, you see Shaw, look at and make eye contact with Mac and realize what they want her to do, and just, be like, the fuck, right? And then just jump and grab this groundhog and wrestle it down and spin it and pull out her battle fan and hold it to the groundhog and look at the stage at whoever. I guess the magician's in a net. The only person
the magician's in this net that's trailing up to the crossbow. You have a feature that allow you to draw it in if you want.
I feel like I'm gonna start doing it, and meanwhile I'm also gonna be like, interesting. That seems to imply that the entire magician is just the essence of a magician.
Yes, the whole thing's being dragged toward you. Meanwhile, the groundhog's like,
I'm gonna look at the groundhog and say, "Where the fuck's your Shanto?"
And Mac is gonna like reach in and draw his sword, as well as his an eskrima stick, and he's gonna point the sword at the clown and says, "No funny business."
really? The clown shakes his head. And the groundhog is terrified, but doesn't, is only going like, doesn't actually seem to be saying any words. Clown is like finishing his sandwich. Well, you totally screwed up this act. Stands
Well,
up.
maybe you shouldn't have kidnapped our friend.
She has a solid point.
I just work here part time. Clown's like, they don't pay me enough to clean up after something like this. He gets up and he's just starting to say, so he's like, yeah, your friend's at the library, he says, and he just starts moving toward an exit.
But oh,
I think Shaw, who's often been in situations where she didn't know how to take a joke or that something was, just silliness, like looks at this poor terrified groundhog and picks it up and like does it for her and goes, "I'm so sorry." Like puts it back together. Sorry. And like looks around really awkwardly at the invisible audience, like remembering the mime, and kind of curtsies and runs over to her friends.
Yeah, they've fallen silent at this point. The groundhog is backing away slowly, and if no one does anything, is going to turn and run out the exit. Aroshka, you've drawn in the net, and you now have the essence of
magicians?
a magician. You have essence of magician now in front of you, which is not strictly speaking a physical thing, but yeah, the chairs are no longer standing and saluting you or anything like that. Everything's kind of, actually looking around, everything here looks kind of old and battered at this point now, suddenly.
That's weird.
Yeah, and everyone can see everything here now looks old and battered. The magician's clothes are no longer animate. They've sort of resolved down into this essence, which you can, well, it's your gun. So my question is, when the gun processes the essence of something, does it come out like in liquid form, or would it be more of a
I feel like
like
it would create some kind of object that you could then hold.
Okay. It becomes is the object different depending on what the essence is?
Yeah.
It's a top hat.
Okay, so I'm gonna hold up this top hat and be like, okay, so well, I guess I don't really know what happened just then, but this is an invention that I never made, and suddenly it's real. Yeah, so I just
do you just say this out loud to everyone?
Yep.
I think Shaw goes, maybe we should talk about that later.
Well, in any case, the magician wasn't like a person. It was just the essence being a magician? I'm not sure. It's a hat now.
Okay.
Can I talk to the hat?
Yeah.
I just turned
What do you want
into a
that?
hat.
What do you want to say to the hat?
I'm just gonna be like, hey, our friend is okay, right? I might let you go if he's okay. Or if they're okay.
Your friend is fine, Captain. They found their way out.
Oh. Why does everyone keep calling me Captain? It's just an outfit.
Is it?
Uh,
I mean, it's been a while since you've been in charge of a project, of a thing. And, it feels good, doesn't it?
Okay. Where is out? I'm gonna ignore that.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's a tent door.
Wait, can we all hear her as she's talking?
Probably her side of the conversation.
You can hear me, but you can't hear the hat. So all you heard was I asked that question and then I said, I'm gonna ignore that. Where's out?
Hey, before you ask that, ask it where the foreman is.
That too. Where's the foreman? Was the foreman here?
Oh, not here, no.
Well, where then?
No, they don't tell us where they take them. We just obtain them.
That's creepy. I'm gonna relay this information to everybody else. But the foreman was here.
Oh yes.
And you obtained him?
Of course, that's our job.
Who did they obtain him for? Arushka, ask the hat.
Who do you work for?
Well, I work for you now.
Okay, who did you used to work for?
Midnight.
Midnight.
And they kind of, and when they say it, it echoes like in your head. And it's for the most part sounds ominous, but there is, again, you get this slight feeling that she would be thrilled. Maybe a little. She'd probably also find it ominous, but she might also find it slightly thrilling.
Weird. Does anybody know somebody who goes by the name Midnight, but like in a creepy, ominous voice?
The Church of Midnight?
Oh, yeah, that. Well, shit. Well, the creepy magician hat thing works for me now, apparently. But used to work for the Church of Midnight, I'm assuming.
Which is who we think took the foreman. But the hat doesn't know where he went?
Nope. Says just acquired people and then gave them to Midnight, who took them somewhere, which is creepy.
Is there a Church of Midnight representative around here? It's the hat.
Oh, this is so awkward. Hat, can you hear my friends? Can you just respond to them instead of me having to re-ask the question?
Whatever you say, Captain.
I do say.
No. They come in their own time, but whenever we've handed anything or anyone over to them, it's always been under the big top.
To the big top, then. Also, maybe we should stop by the library and pick up Shantano.
No, it's okay. Do you have to let your hat go?
Oh, I did say... well, I didn't say I would do it. I said I might do it. Do you want to be free, hat? That used to be a magician.
I mean, I guess you could keep the hat.
Why don't you just wear the hat?
I'm not sure I want to put the hat on my head. But
You
I
could-
could carry the hat.
You'd
not?
be capable of quite a lot if you put me on.
I don't want to find out.
It seems like it would go really well with the jacket.
I kind of think the hat might control me a little bit if I did that.
Oh,
You
really?
think you did something amazing now. Imagine if you had all the powers of prestidigitation at your
Yes, it's
disposal.
creepily whispering at me, so I'm going to say probably yes.
Oh, I thought you
Doesn't-
were in charge. It did keep calling you captain.
That's true, but I don't trust it. So
Okay,
Honestly, I
whatever.
think that more naval admiral hat would probably
Yeah.
look better on Eroshka with
True.
that jacket.
I might have one.
cavalier hat, big feather.
Yeah.
I might have one back at the costume shop, but this hat I think might be slightly evil.
Oh,
Do you want me to cut it?
No. I mean, you can do whatever you want after I let it go, but I did say I would let it go. Do you want to be free, hat? We had this discussion already.
but if
I
it's...
would. If you free me, I will return to my job.
Oh,
Yeah, I won't hear that, but Shaw will be like, if it's an evil thing, you can't just set it free.
It definitely said it didn't actually have an opinion about whether or not it wanted to be let go. It just said if I let it go, it would go back to capturing people. So I'm thinking we're going to keep the evil hat.
Of course. If you want to.
How about
could
I just
completely
destroy
be-
the hat?
You could be completely in charge of this effort. It would not. It could be whatever. I could be whatever you want me to be.
At the moment, I want you to be a hat. You can continue being an evil hat if you want.
Okay,
As you wish.
so Mac is just gonna say, you know what? You know what? I have two of these things now, and he's just gonna pull out a wicked key.
What?
It's true, I also have two of them.
Do you think we could use this to get our way in to meeting with the Church of Midnight?
I mean, we could definitely use one to get into the big top, but don't you think that we should go get Shantano first?
We might just be able to get into the big top, and if they somehow... Oh, hat! Can you tell them that you captured somebody? It wouldn't be a lie. He just got away afterwards. They just got away afterwards.
I can't because I'm a hat.
All right, never mind. That plan's not going to work, because the evil hat is going to stay a hat.
I feel like we should at least figure out how hard it is to get into the big top before you expend your key.
Also possibly true.
I mean, they're so rare.
Yeah. Well, so are people who can control a giant Jenga tower.
But we haven't exhausted all of our other options.
Let's go pick up Shantano. Make sure they're not dead or anything.
Are you gonna keep your hat?
I'm gonna keep the evil hat for now. We're not gonna listen to the evil hat, though it keeps whispering things at me. It's trying to be tempting and such, but also it's a hat.
So Mac is just gonna threaten the hat with the sword. Cease your prattle.
The hat says nothing.
He's just gonna put the sword away. Adjust his jacket. I mean, I suppose we could just let the hat return to becoming a magician, and then we would just,
But then it's going to go back to tricking people into getting captured and then handed over to the Church of Midnight.
No, but I'm saying that we would just, keep him as a secret hostage and use him to get within at least arm's distance of this Church of Midnight and catch them by surprise.
How do I keep the hat hostage if I let it go?
Well, that's what I was trying to intend the use of this key for.
Oh. I know this is a really radical idea, but do you suppose we should find out some more things before we make a plan?
A calmly rational and well thought out plan.
Yes, because we've been totally known for that.
I'm gonna keep the hat for now. I can always let the hat go later. We're not gonna listen to the evil hat. Nobody put the evil hat on. Okay, yes, good. Let's go pick up Shantano from the library. Start
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Maybe Shantano will have opinions about what to do next. I value their insight.
Yeah. I just want to make sure they're okay.
Awesome. Okay, I think that that is actually I will say that you will head to the library and you will find Shantano there. But I think we are going to save further action for next time. So, thank you all for indulging this strangeness.
I've acquired an evil hat.
I would like to thank Evil Hat Productions for being so patient with our continued use of their trademark. No, actually, the Evil Hat in that is more of a fedora for them. So this is a completely different, similar but legally distinct from the Evil Hat.
Evil Hat.
Yes,
It's not the evil hat. It's just an evil hat.
an Evil Hat. Yes, their Evil Hat has like eyes and stuff.
That's true.
Completely
It's
different.
not a top hat.
But I will, however, thank Fred Hicks for half the jokes that have appeared in my mind over the last several minutes. But now stuff is happening, and then they're going to go and get Shantano, and more things will happen. And I, for one, am delighted to see what they are. Let's go ahead and go around and do our outros. Before we do that, though, let's go ahead and go around and do our joy and despair, because I have to do that. We are not at an acumen point yet. But let us find out. First off, I'm going to go in regular order for this. So, Djinnaya, do you think Shah got anything joy or despair-wise this session?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Wilde, do you think Shantano would have gotten anything joy or despair-wise this session?
No, I don't think they'll get despair for not becoming death.
Okay. Darn it. So, since this is the second session in a row, now I must ask you, would you like something to happen that causes joy or that causes despair?
Oh, something causes joy.
Excellent. Okay. We will sculpt that as time permits. And graft that on at the beginning of the next session. I think probably, and it will not count toward the next session's joy or despair. It'll be a thing that's sort of an in-between session thing. My immediate thought is there's something wonderful you find in the library.
A new hat?
You might.
You show up, we're like, oh no, more hats!
Yes! So many hats.
Arosha's just gonna put the hat on the table, and Shantano's gonna put it on and be like, "I have a new friend."
Oh my god. So yes, you'll. Yeah, I think you're going to find something in the library that's probably that Shantano wants, and we'll talk about what that is. But Arras, did Aroshka get a joy or a despair this time? Do you think?
I think at the moment Aroshka's feeling a great deal of joy that she got to try out the gun thing. It's like possibly later it will be #regrets, but at the moment Aroshka's having a great time.
Excellent. And Anino, did Mac do anything to get joy or despair this time, do you think?
Nah.
Okay. Would you like something to happen that causes joy or despair?
Since I'm not going to be here next session, despair.
Despair! Despair is coming your way.
I'm going to lose.
Maybe something involved with Karen.
Totally could. Oh,
Because I had that idea that
oh, that's
Mac
right.
would try to, yeah.
That's right. You were going to go and try to move in. I think she's going to make you sign something. You might have to sign the homeowners agreement and join the association.
Oh no.
Every presentation.
There's a lot going on. We'll get to that.
I mean, it would be either that or one of the many things that, many spirits that he has struck a bargain with is bound to come call and collect.
Hey,
Because in order to become a level 3 goetic, he needs a signed recommendation.
oh
From
God.
a spirit of like level 5 or higher, or to advance.
Yeah. Okay, we gotta figure that out. We'll look into that. It's time to go on a hunt. Oh no. All right. Well, now that we've got that down, we shall go around now and do our outros. Feel free to say where folks can find you, and any final thoughts about the session or favorite moments or anything else you would like to talk about. And we shall, as is our way, starting again from reverse of where we started this session, we'll start with Anino.
Hi, my name is Anino. You can find me on Twitter at Anino Gaming. Find me back on this channel tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for our weekly campaign of Dark Matter, which we are working our way through. Ghost of Saltma, a adaptation of the official Ghost of Saltma module system. So tune in for that. It's being DM'd by Origami Shuriken. So, and then Wednesday I will be on the Welcome to Party RPG channel for another episode of On Prosperous Winds, which is DM'd by Atomic Firebird. And then I will not be streaming next weekend because I will be at PAX East. So you can find me in the Diversity Lounge at the I Need Diverse Games table during the morning sessions from 10 to 1 p.m. So stop by, say hi, share some snacks, and chit-chat. You take a break from the rest of the main busy floor. So.
Excellent. Any thoughts about the session?
Yeah, it just went really crazy, really quickly, and I think this is just a prime example of just how silly and weird that our group just gets in Saturnine on our adventures, and I'm here for it. I like that. I checked a woodchuck.
You did. That groundhog never knew, never saw it coming. Oh my god. Awesome. Well, let's now head over to Arras.
Hello, I'm Arras, or Animus Panthera. You can find me as Animus Panthera or Animus.Panthera practically everywhere, although I spend most of my time on Twitter. At the moment, the only place you can see me play games is right here on Saturdays, playing this game and having many calmly rational, well thought out plans. And at the moment, I'm also giving away, well, this year I'm giving away a set of dice every month. So this month I'm giving away a set called Glitter Bomb. If you want, I just retweeted that. So it should be somewhere near the top of my timeline on Twitter if you want to try and win some dice.
Coolness. Any thoughts about the session you want to share?
I appreciate a great deal of mayhem. I feel like it's like Aroshka was in this space. She didn't really know anything about herself, and then she found out about herself. I was like, well, shit. But then she was like, but this is so cool.
It's a struggle.
All of you thought you knew Aroshka. I need to find out what she's really like.
I am so excited about seeing what's going to happen with this whole thing.
I appreciate everyone just going along with it.
Excellent. All right, Wilde.
Yes, hello. I'm Wilde Engineer at Wilde Engineer on Twitch and Twitter. Aside from here on Saturdays, you can catch me on Pro Restarters channel for some D&D set in Taldore, where I play a barbarian and half-orc barbarian whose rage is coded as panic. Oh yeah. Today was a fun session. Part of me wonders if I had actually become Death, would I actually be Murder's best friend and not just claim to be?
You never know. You never know now. You chose to be yourself instead.
Yeah. Regrets. Hashtag regrets.
Who knows?
I really enjoyed y'all tossing around the groundhog like a football.
Yay. Awesome. And Djinnaya.
Hello, my name is Djinnaya. I make art and play good games with nice people. You can find me at Djinnaya on Twitter or pretty much anywhere else on the internet. This was a really interesting game session. I really appreciated that it kind of went in a direction where it was like, oh, this could get really dark, like especially with that card pull, and then Shotno being in the room full of like war wounded, and then it was like, oh, flying groundhog. So I mean, I think it's something about the weirdness of this game in particular that it can just really switch poles between like ridiculous and super terrifying so fast. It's a little disorienting and kind of cool.
Yay. And did you already give where folks can find you, that kind of stuff? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have anything to plug.
Oh, okay. Week. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that leaves me. I am Jim Ryan. This is my channel. Once again, you can find me at OtherDoc on both Twitch and Twitter. My website is jimyesthatjim.com, where you can find my Geek Observation podcast and links to my various other podcasts, audio dramas, writings, and such. I have links down below to my website, Twitter, YouTube channel, some of my fiction and games I've been working on, along with links to game signups and applications to join our Discord. On Sundays, we have one-shots. The one-shot tomorrow afternoon is Medical Bay 3. That is a science fiction medical drama. Which I'm going to try, hopefully, I'm going to try reading through it one more time tonight in hopes I've got all the bits in my head, and see if we can get it nailed down. It's an interesting little design, for sort of a card-based thing where they try to figure things out about alien patients. Then after that, Sunday night, we will have our continuing campaign of Dark Matter, Ghosts of Saltmaw, as previously described. And then on Tuesday, we have the finale of our short campaign this month of Apocalypse World. That's happening. So that's a thing. But it's I think it's there's a lot of tension happening there, and I think that's really cool. Wednesday nights we have our Masks campaign run by Mole, where we're all angsty teenage superheroes, and it is an utter delight. And then of course back around to Saturday when we have more of this. There will be more Invisible Sun, and things shall continue. I believe we actually have a guest next week on Leap Day. Coming in, our next guest. I just have to reconfirm with them. But I think that'll be a lot of fun as we continue to get into spiraling further and further downward into the madness that is this setting. Sign-ups are currently still open for Alas Vegas. That is a sort of round-robin game we're going to be having a short campaign of next month. That's going to be a thing where different people are taking over as GM for each session. Very simple rules based on using tarot cards. And essentially it's just a thing where people wake up outside of Vegas, no memories, and try to figure out who they were and what was going on. So that's, I think, going to be fun. Sign-ups are open on that until Friday, I believe. And Friday the 28th. And then we'll cast it and figure it out. Sign-ups will soon be on for Flat Pack and some other stuff. We're still figuring out the one-shot schedule for next month. And so we'll have that pinned down a little bit. So once I kind of figure out where things go, and then I'll start cranking out the sign-up forms for that. So that'll be soon. To sign up for anything, you can go down below to RPG Sign Up, or you can go to jimmyyesthatjim.com and click on Game Sign Up. As always, beginners are welcome. So when we hit the end card, I'm going to send a raid over to Plot Hunters. They are playing the Dungeons and the Dragons. So it's they look like they're into the third season of this game they've been playing, but it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. So I will go ahead and send us over there. So we're going to go over there and say hi. Feel free to hang on and say hi to them with us if you are so inclined. That, again, will be when we hit the end card. In the meantime, folks, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and we will see you next week. Farewell.